Right, this video is going to be explaining the process of how I modelled, textured and then tracked my Roman helmet model using 3 different softwares. I modelled it in Maya, Texture and Substance, and then tracked it in Blender. So first off, for modelling, I imported this reference image here, and that's the basis of my shape. I first started out to make the main helmet. When I first started modelling it, I started off with a cube. As shown in one of my time-lapse videos, I started with a cube and I got the shape round right, got all the way down, extruded all the faces, got it down to about here. But then and then also did the back bit. But then when I wanted to obviously extrude or mirror the one side, it was more blocky. It wasn't as round. It wasn't this round shape. So what I did basically, then I just scrapped that. I then got a sphere. I'll show you quickly what I did. So got a sphere over here. Got it up, framed it up. Went into face select mode. Deleted all of them. Made sure I deleted the rest of the faces and all that. And then I object mode, mesh, fill hole. So then I had a load of these, obviously not done it, so I had a full plain face there. And then what I did, actually, no, that's what I did originally, but then I realised, because obviously if I just click on this face and extrude down, I can't extrude the separate faces which I need. So basically I then deleted that face and I then extruded it down across each way. So if I'd go face mode, delete face, I then kind of like made these thicker. So if I extrude it and then like something like that, but the other way, and then I was able to put the opposite into the helmet, and then I was obviously able to extrude down all of the separate faces of the helmet, so then I can model it and shape it round to match the reference image as shown by my model over here. And then when I got down to that bit, I had to extrude some more faces out to make this back bit of the helmet, and then doing these grooves was actually quite easy. On the back bit of the faces of this sphere, I just selected a certain number of faces, extruded them out and obviously made it smooth, and this created this nice little indent detail, adds more to the model. That was similar to this front guard here. I just collected a few faces, extruded them out, and then squashed them near the end. But about here, I just clicked the scale tool, scaled them down, and then smoothed out, so it creates that nice kind of indent metal. That's been moulded out of the helmet. Obviously, in the reference image, it's been bolted on. But I thought this look was a lot better. And then creating these bolts and these inside bits here, I just created separately. Then moved them over to the model and merged them together. Making the helmet as a whole, I only did one half of the helmet. I would say, like, as a reference image, I can only do the right hand side. After I've done that, I then mirrored the other half, and then I just brought the two faces together, combined them, and then stitched up individually on this line here. So I just went in, clicked every vertices, combined vertices, doing that concept for the whole thing until all of the model joined up together. For these ear pieces, the same thing as the other bolts, created them separately, followed my reference, and then smoothed them out and joined them together. The cheek pieces are completely separate. Again, following the reference image, I just did a cube, squashed it down, extruded faces, and then pulled them all out. As you can see here, the mesh is fine. There's a few stretched faces here. It caused a few problems when UVing, but overall it went all right. This top bit, I again modelled separately. I just did, obviously this was just a cylinder. I then got a cube, put it down there to create this hole, and then it was not beveled, it was, what was it? It was using mesh tools. Oh, I forgot what the name of it now, but booleans. Yeah, I used them, the difference booleans, just to cut a hole out in the mesh, so then I can fit this other cube here and this other and the top bit there for the feathers. which some other helmets have. And creating these feathers was quite interesting. I used Meyer's built-in like straw system. So I just came in, I used the hair system to create the all the hair particles and everything to go up down here, and turned each hair particle into one of these straws, which then I turned into a object, into a mesh, and obviously it now creates the effect you can see. Obviously, main problem, if you're close up, you can see where it just ends there, but far away it kind of just looks like, it does look like it's just all one part of a load of feathers. And obviously after I've modelled it all together, smoothed the whole model out, I had to UV map it. And here's the example of the UVs. The helmet itself is pretty easy. I had to go through the UVs a couple of times because my first iteration I did kind of like here, where when I textured it's going to be seaming on this part, and there's a bit here, but at first I did this side, then I did that bit, then I did that bit, so there was just a lot of holes and different parts of UVing. So when I came to texturing, like there was a cube here I missed, and also UV'd it separately, but because the UV was so small, the UV detail was really high. So when I came to texturing, the model had good quality, but then this one cube had a lot of detail and just didn't look all together. So I just had to redo that. Some of these shapes are quite different, like the part here, obviously the bolts, they're spherical, UV's there and all that, so it took me a while, but it was quite a challenge. The main part I had issues with was these cheek pieces, and mainly at the top. Because like here, these, as you see in the minute, Substance Painter, like the UV'd fine, but then it went really weird in Substance Painter. This was quite an interesting shape to try and UV. I got the squares done right, but then trying to get all of this bit down here all UV'd, it took a while, but I managed to get it all done. It looks like a mess here, but this is all this is difficult as well because I had different extruded faces on each medallion. So I bought like every other line of faces, extruded out, changed and moulded it. So obviously it was interesting to UV and quite a challenge. Shape as whole, it took me a while, but no, it was a good process. I've learnt a lot. Like here, you can kind of see with the UVing, like there's a seam there, and then it suddenly it jolts like here, because obviously that seam is where I joined together in the model. But the seam doesn't seem to be at the back here, it just seems to be at the front. It's gone a bit weird. I don't know why it's done that, but it's just how it goes. But yeah, that was how I modelled it. It took about 8 hours, I think, in total, to 8 to 12 hours to model, get it all right, UV it properly, and get all this feather system done. So yeah, now moving over to Substance Painter. As you can see, there's a lot of like nice normal detail in there, very subtle. I had quite a challenge getting the right UV, the usual normal detail. At first I started big punches in the hole and loads of scratches. It just wasn't what would be realistic in an old helmet. But obviously like these subtle scratches here, this is what you would expect from an old helmet. It just adds a lot of life to the model. As I was talking about earlier with the texturing, like here, as you can see, it's all fine up here, and then the top bit, same on the other side. It's weird, it doesn't look good, but because most of the shots of the model is kind of like this way, or like that, it's because it's such a small part, it's very, you're not going to notice it unless I point it out. But the way I went on to texturing this, if I get the helmet main up, see I've got multiple layers here of the texturing. I learnt this quite late on, but it was quite, John has shown me how to do it properly, and it was really fun to do. I also created a smart material of old helmet. But if I go into like the base colour green for like the old iron and everything, it starts, I've not got one layer of green, I've got three completely different colours of green. And obviously if I turn it all off, that's what it looks like now. And obviously I've got my first layer of green, I've got my second layer of green, adds that, and then my final third layer of green. All that just subtle detail just makes it look more realistic. So even that's such a small feathering effect, but it does make a difference. The same is with the rust detail, not just got one bit of rust, I've got a really rich red, a darker red, more orangey kind of red, a yellowish, and more of an orange. So just multiple just these multiple layers here. Like there's not much of this yellow detail, but it's still there and it makes a difference. Like this red here, obviously it's quite noticeable under the crevices where the rust would collect, and here as well, like the main rust part. And then you got this one as well, just building up of slowly building up layers. It adds a lot more detail to the model compared to, say, if I got an old version. Let's see if I open up the old version. Just to show for an example. Like here, this is one of the first versions of it. I just had it as just iron. As you can see, there's not many layers at all. Like the gold here. If I go to helmet main, where is it? There it is. Like this, I've just got iron old. That's it, and just done that. Yes, there's some nice textures here. That helps. But it looks nice. But also it's supposed to be an old helmet. It does look good. And here with my Nordics, I just added a massive punch into the helmet, and it's load of cracks. Like I thought it looked cool, but it looked cool, but it's just too much. It's not subtle enough. Where over what the texture did itself, this is fine. Like little bumps and stuff which will happen in the helmet, but obviously this was just too new. It's supposed to be an old Roman helmet. It's not going to look like this metal, and also the gold got no layers on it, so it's just not looking good. So if I go back to the this one, just give Substance a minute to load up. Here we go. Let me just turn the opacity down. So yeah, so even like the gold, like I'll see this looks a lot better. Rust, different bits of iron. Here we go. So if I, for a more prime example, with the buckles, gold cheek buckles. So there we go. Look, I've got a layer of gold to make it look nice and old. Obviously, some of the UVs are a bit weird, but on the whole, it's good. As I see, I've not just got this old gold smart tool made. I've got three different parts of gold. One's the gold armor, smart material is already in Substance, and the other one was just different bits of gold here, like this one. Like that just adds the damage, the oldness to it. Like that looks nice and shiny gold. It's not what I want. There's subtle bump details there and everything like that, but add that on. There we go, got that nice old thing. And I've got the grunge old rough maps to add some more detail on, and obviously this gold armor thing adds just the small little alpha details just to make it more detail, more 3D. Like there's a lot of data on there when it's not that much. Obviously these feathers, they were quite easy to texture, just a red mohawk. I'm not going to turn on and off because there's a lot of object polygons here, but obviously it was just one fill there just to get a nice old kind of red worn feel. Like they like the gold here because the way the textures got baked, it went a bit weird, but it's still old gold's gonna have it's not going to be all collective and pure. It's going to have deformations in it, so it kind of worked. And obviously here with the go back to helmet main, go back to the oxidation as well. I've got my nice iron detail here that adds just a bit of the metallicness onto it, as you can see by the back there. And then the oxidation, because one of the reference images I used, there was a lot of colour. There was some pink, there was some grey, there was some blue, and obviously there was white. So you turn the white off, you can see that. And there was a lot of oxidation on top of the helmet. That's why it's so present right there. Also I've got this subtle pink on the oxidation. Just adds a little bit more detail. Turn it on and off. Same with the blue. It just adds more. It just adds more to there. You got a bit of pink down there. It just adds more to it. And it's the same with the grey here, just to roughen out the edges of it. Of some of the old metal just started to oxidize. Just adds, like here, a lot of detail there. It just adds more of like kind of a story to the model itself. Like again, all the fine little alpha detail, all the scratches, all the bumps, all the imperfections. So yeah, so texturing it was after I learned, after John's help, obviously, Agitation really has improved my model a lot. Because before I wasn't doing Lang, I thought, oh, I'll just put iron on there, that'll look cool, that'll do. But no, it just adds a lot of detail. I think I've got a total of, yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, and in each layer has at least minimum of 3 sub layers into it. So it's just taking extra time into texturing your model, and it just adds a lot more detail, and just makes the model look a lot better overall and everything. So yeah, so obviously after I textured all this, I went over to Blender. This is an old file. In the final track version, I got the solve error down to 0.2. After it got exported, I lost the file, like it all messed up because I changed something and I lost all the tracking data. I think even this one's not perfect. It's not done because obviously if I add a camera in, it's not all lined up or anything anymore. It went really weird because I lost it. Oh, because I said it's an old file. But all I did was got all these tracking data down here. On this one, it was all manual, unsupported tracks. So I picked a track and marker, I just tracked it all across. And the tracking markers I was mainly using on this particular scene. Where was it? It was default, and it was affine trackers, because I was following John's tutorials on all that. And after a few bits of help, he made sure to affine. This is before I got more help with trackers. My track markers are quite small and search areas. Like on the updated file, like my search areas like this, on all of them, they're all affined, and just to increase the solve, get the solve down lower. So I see some of these are 0.3, 0.5 will cause a lot of error. 0.3, 0.3. So, but yeah, I got it down to 0.2 when I finally got the track out, and obviously I put the helmet in, lit it all up because it's quite a diffused lighting. So obviously I've got my sun over here, which creates a nice diffused kind of look to it, not creating much shadows, which is quite challenging to get the right look. But I managed to do it in the final show reel. So yeah, so that was a quick, quite a detailed actually, of how I modelled my Roman helmet, moved on to texturing it all, describing all the layers and processes of that, and then put it all together into this final tracking scene, which is used in my final show reel. And thanks for listening.